One of the lovely things about storytelling is that the stories often come from all sorts of different places in the world. So Tuesday, I was at a storytelling circle, and we had stories from Finland, we had stories from Greece and Rome, and we had stories from Scotland, traditional stories from Scotland, and we had stories from the British Isles. And there's something about story that really connects us up as a human race, as humanity, and the way that we share these stories. And many of them have the same or a similar root and core. So today I'm going to share a story from Haiti, just to keep in with the international feel. And it goes something like this. Once upon a time, there was a lady who lived on the island of Haiti, and she had a special gift. Her special gift was that she was a beekeeper. She was the beekeeper of the island of Haiti. And such was her talent that she produced gallons and gallons of honey. And every month she would gather up all of that honey and she would pour it into this great, great vessel. And she would hoist the vessel onto her head and she would walk to the local market for it to be sold. And every month she did this. So this month was no different to any other month. She gathered all of the honey from all of her hives and she poured it into this great, great vessel until it was full to the brim. And then she hoisted this vessel onto her head and began to walk through the jungle on her way to the market. And she walked and trod very carefully because this was a really, really heavy vessel on top of her head. But away she walked very sedately. And she walked the same path that she'd walked for years and years. She knew it so well. Her feet found the same footprints that they'd have found for months and months and months. But this time, something strange happened. She tripped on a root, and that never happens. Worse, she tripped on a root and she fell. And even worse, she tripped on a root and she fell, and her vessel smashed into 1,000 pieces. And there was honey everywhere. Honey on the path, honey on the trees, honey on the twigs, honey on the leaves on the ground. There was honey everywhere. All of her honey was ruined. And the lady lay on the ground, stunned about what had just happened. The realization that a month's worth of produce was now scattered across the jungle. And the thought finally crossed her mind that actually she was going to have no money for that month. And she began to wail, "Oh, Papa God, Papa God, how can you give me so much misery? Papa God, how can you give me so much misery? Oh, misery, oh, misery." And the lady got up and, still wailing about the misery of Papa God, she walked back to her small farm and her bees and her hives. And that should have been the end of the story, but it wasn't. Sat in a tree, watching this, was a little monkey. And the little monkey watched, and the little monkey watched, and the little monkey watched, and he watched the lady walk away. "This is a very strange thing," thought the monkey. "I wonder what's gone on." And he dropped down out of the tree onto the path and looked about. And he looked at all the sweet, gooey liquid that covered the trees and the leaves and the path. Thought the monkey. I wonder what this is. And he sat and he looked at it for a little while. And eventually he took his finger and he gathered a little bit up and gave it a smell. It smelled really nice. And so he took his finger and he put it in his mouth and he tasted the sweet, sweet golden nectar. Oh, this was lovely. Well, the monkey was in heaven. And he went from twig to branch to leaf, and he licked up all of the honey that was covering the forest ground. And when he'd finished, he sat there on the forest floor, rubbing his tummy and thinking, well, that is just delicious. Do you know, I have never tasted such delicious misery in all my life. And I guess that's what it's called, because the lady said, Papa God, how did you give me so much misery? Misery is great. I love misery. And so the monkey sat there, and the monkey sat there, and he thought, how can I get a bit more misery? I need more misery in my life. And he thought, sucking the last of the honey off a twig that he'd found. He thought, the lady, she knows where to get misery. It's Papa God. So the monkey thought, I know, I'm going to visit Papa God and see if he'll give me a bit more misery. And so the monkey climbed to the highest tree, and he jumped from the highest tree onto a cloud. And then the cloud floated a little bit further up and up and up, and he jumped from cloud to cloud. And eventually he reached Papa God's house. And there was Papa God, as usual, out tending his garden. Very quietly tending his garden, and the monkey came and sat on Papa God's wall. Papa God looked up. Monkey! Hey, it's great that you've been able to come and see me. That's brilliant. What can I do for you? It's a long way from the jungle for a monkey to travel up here just to visit me. I mean, it's nice, but what can I do for you? Papa God, I have tasted misery and I want more. Well, Papa God was kind of surprised. Oh, said Papa God. And please explain. And so the monkey explained. He explained about the woman with the great big vessel on her head, full of misery, and the fact that she'd fallen onto the floor and the vessel had smashed into 1,000 pieces, and misery had spread all over the jungle floor, and the monkey had licked it all up, and it was delicious and fabulous and gorgeous, and he wanted more of it. Could Papa God help him? And Papa God scratched his chin and smiled a little as the monkey regaled him with this fantastic story. Said Papa God. So let me get this right. You want me to give you misery? Yes, said the monkey. That's it. Please give me some more misery. Okay, said Papa God. Just sit tight and I'll be back in a short time. And Papa God got up and walked off into his house. And the monkey sat and thought on the wall, it's going to be wonderful. It's going to be great. Imagine all that misery. I'll have a full belly for the rest of my life. Papa God had been gone quite a long time, actually, and the monkey was starting to wonder whether he'd got lost in his house or whether he was coming back or not. But eventually, Papa God came back, and he'd got a big sack on his back. He came walking down the steps of his veranda back into his garden, and he said, "Right, monkey, here is a sack full of misery. Aha! And I want you to take this misery, and I want you to take it into the middle of the desert where there are no trees. You know the desert I mean." Yeah, said the monkey. "I know the desert you mean. And I want you to take this sack, and when you get into the middle of the desert, and then you can open it. And all the misery you can think of is there in the sack, and it'll be yours." Fantastic. The monkey thanked Papa God from the bottom of his heart and took the sack, threw it on his back, and started jumping down from cloud to cloud, getting back to the earth. And when he got back to the earth, he made his way, as carefully as he could, to the desert where there are no trees. And he made his way, it was really hot, to the middle of the desert where there are no trees. It was really, really hot. And when he got to the middle of the desert where there are no trees, he put the bag down, ready to see what's in it. Carefully untied the top and opened the bag, and immediately he saw it wasn't what he was expecting. Out jumped 7 ferocious Rottweilers. He could smell their breath, snarling and angry and hungry, and they took one look at the monkey and thought, "Lunch, great." Well, the monkey ran, and the monkey ran, and he ran through the desert, and the dogs were following him. And he could feel the breath, the bad breath of these dogs on the back of his neck. And still he ran, and he ran, and he ran, and he didn't stop, and he didn't stop. And he could hear them snarling angrily behind him. Presently, the monkey saw in the distance a tree growing up in the desert where there are no trees. And he ran towards the tree, and he scuttled straight up to the top, and the dogs circled to the bottom of the tree, snarling. And the monkey got to the top of the tree, panting. He thought his heart was going to burst from his chest, and he clung to the top of the uppermost branches of the tree. As dusk approached, the dogs gave up and left. And the monkey, once he'd decided that the dogs had gone, climbed carefully down from the tree and headed back to the jungle. Now, you must be wondering how a tree appeared in the desert where there are no trees. Who put it there? Well, it was Papa God. Because too much of anything is good for nothing, even for little monkeys. So, Papa God had given him a tree. And that's the end of the story. I hope you've enjoyed it. Have a lovely weekend.